Fake it. Oh. Okay, I'm just gonna sit in the fire. Oh, you have another Molotov? Ooh, that's rough. That's okay. That's okay. Remember, you still have Chompy. I'm behind him. Okay, he's sitting in the room right here. Oh, GG. How many Molotovs did we have? My god. Hey, what is up, everybody? How you guys doing? I hope you're having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening. It's me, TZ, you know, in the flesh. Well, I guess for you only on video, but whatever. We don't talk about that. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, this is the video about support and what it means to be a supportive player in VHS. Whether, you know, you don't want to call it a role or a play style, it's the same type of difference. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use the right weapons for your supportive playstyle and what weapons to go for, what mods to equip, just so that you can really help your strikers. If you did not know, or you do not know, I uploaded a video just last week talking about the striker role, so if there's something that I talk about, you know, where I'm talking about the striker a little bit, and you want to understand that a little more, you can go back to the video last week and, you know, go ahead and check that out for yourself, and then that'll kind of give you a better explanation. Anyway, thank you guys for clicking on the video in the first place. I really do appreciate it. If you do end up finding yourself liking the content, you know, halfway through the video, there is a like button. It really does support me a lot. And if you really, really like the rest of my content, you can also subscribe. I will be posting every Monday. And so yeah. Anyway, let's get right into the video. Thank you guys very, very much. And I will keep talking to you in a second. So, you want to play support. Awesome. I fully recommend that you do if you really feel like you want to. And you might honestly watch this video and realize, hey, you like a lot of the supportive weapons, and so you want to be able to use those a lot, so then you'll start to pick up that more supportive playstyle. So, just really fast, I'm going to explain, what does the support do? Okay, a lot of you might be asking, what's the point of having a support? Isn't everybody supposed to get a stigma? Well, sort of. Yes, sort of, no. I'll be able to explain it in just a second. So what the support does is they do a lot of things to waste the monster's time and keep teammates going. Preferably keep the strikers going. Sometimes, you know, a support will help out another support player, but for the most part, the support is there to make the strikers really, really stand out and really, really get those stigmas. So a lot of the support players do end up getting overshadowed. Which, by the way, support players, I love you guys. Thank you so very much. You make my games like 10 times easier, and I don't have to like go nearly as hard just because I have you there. Now, if you are going to be playing support, there's a few weapons that you'll have to get used to just so that you can really, really start to help your teammates out a lot. Number one being the cross. I think that you also need to learn this for striker, but it doesn't matter. You just have to learn the cross no matter what, and your life will become 10 times easier. The sword is another one of the best support weapons. Also very good for striker, but supports can actually really, 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 I find, get a little bit more use out of it when done properly. I know that the sword is a little hard for some people to use, but if you can learn it, you'll be an absolute menace to whoever is playing monster. Like, they will be struggling so hard, and you're gonna hurt them a lot. Another one that's very, very major that it's kind of on the fence for a lot of people because it's not used very often is actually the solar flare. The solar flare is pretty much completely defensive and supportive, and you absolutely have to learn it if you want to be playing that supportive kind of role for your teammates, right? If you are in a team, I should also mention the way that me and my team have found, you know, our, I guess, chemistry to work together is we have two strikers, and then we have one main support, and then another person who's kind of a nice mix in between. But I'll be able to talk about that, you know, a bit later, because As of right now, me and my team, we found out that there's at least like 2 or 3 major support style roles. That's really, really nice to learn. So, you know, try to figure out the one that you want to try to play, and yeah, just go on from there. Now, the differences between striker and support, which I'm just going to go and let you guys know. I play striker, I don't play support, so some of my stuff might be off. I'm very sorry. But for the most part, should be pretty okay. Anyway, the differences between striker and support. Striker is there to build weapons that get stigmas regularly. Crosses, flamethrowers, rayguns, all that stuff, swords, whatever it may be. All of the weapons that you can normally ensure that you get a stigma with. The support players are there to make sure that those weapons can be crafted and used as effectively as possible. So as support, a lot of the time you're switching from sitting near a teammate to immediately running and moving around to find other teammates, just so that you can help them get a stigma and, you know, absolutely ruin the monster's day. That's obviously your goal. And as support, I know, for support in most games, it doesn't sound very cool. In this, you're doing a lot of things to slow down the monster, hold the monster back for a good like 45 extra seconds without doing very much, push him away entirely. There's a lot more to it than just, you know, Striker's primary goal is go in and go burr, and obviously the better that you get at both sides, you just start to learn more, and you learn when to back off, when to push up, you know, all the things that you absolutely have to learn to play either side. But on support, I would say that there's a little bit more that you have to learn and try to get good at, but once you're able to get good at all of that, you are going to be absolutely fantastic. And slowing down monsters is one of the most major things that you do without clearing the stigma. Because if you have, you know, 8 swings on a sword, and your teammate says, hey, slow him down for me, okay? You swing twice, you're down to 6 swings, the monster has been slowed down enough to where your teammate, your striker player, can run in with something like a Raygun or possibly an RC, you know, maybe a cross or whatever, and just get rid of that stigma, and you still have 6 swings, which is stupid. Having those 6 swings can buy so much time and keep the monster off of your teammates. He will be afraid of you. He'll see a sword, either armor, howl, send a doll after you. He doesn't have very many options. It's really nice to be able to pull all of that stuff off, and once you start to get good at it, you feel so cool for doing the most subtle things that you know is helping your teammates. They might not notice you, they might not recognize you ever, but it doesn't matter because you know what you're doing, and you know that you're the reason that your team won that entire game, because you were a badass support player. So try to keep that, and, you know, just figure out how to play support extremely well. So, you want to just try to jump right into the supportive playstyle right now. Awesome, great. You probably have no idea where to really start unless you've already been playing a little bit of support, but not really knowing it. But now that I'll really be able to tell you and show you what you should really be running if you are playing the support style. So, Flamethrower, not a very bad supportive weapon. It has quite a bit of options for each of the monsters, and, you know, it has enough ammo to where you can really just slow down the monster for a nice long time and really screw over their game. If you are going to be running a mod on the Flamethrower and you're going to be playing support, I do recommend Under Pressure or Burnout. They're both pretty good. Burnout's a little more niche, but it is very cool. Now, with the Firebomb, Bottled Up is very interesting. I don't totally recommend it. To the Brim, don't recommend it. Hotfoot is probably the most supportive Firebomb mod, so I very much so that you recommend either running just base Firebomb or Hotfoot, because all the others are either somewhat striker styled or just not really very effective yet. Solar Flare. This weapon is absolutely amazing and ridiculously powerful. Even just at the start, like as soon as you level it up, Jewel Polish is fantastic because you just get to shoot it for longer. Blazing Sentry isn't really very helpful. Dancing Spark is probably the absolute best Solar Flare mod. It can totally change whether you get a stigma or not, and you're playing support and you're running Solar Flare. Solar Revelation, there's not enough of a use for it right now, maybe in the future, but as of right now, there's no real need for it. And Flame Charmer, it's not as good as Dancing Spark, I would say, but it does allow for some more options. So if you want to learn that, go for it. I fully respect you for learning it. It is an absolutely fantastic mod still. Now on to the Raygun. It's not really that support styled, like, at all. It's very strikery, like, period. Light it up is not very helpful. Burst energy is not very helpful. Fork shot is actually really good, so if you are going to be running support, I do recommend that you run fork shot. Stunning victory can be okay if you're extremely coordinated with your team, but you know, it's just like the others. Cheap fuel, stunning victory, crucifier, curse blade, all of those have the same type of effect. So very team oriented, but if you can figure it out, it's not bad. And trick shot, I don't recommend running trick shot if you're running support, but hey, if you want to go for it, totally go for it. But if you are going to be running support, I do heavily recommend running fork shot. Now on to the RC. This weapon is in a very weird spot because it can be very supportive. The only problem is that it only can be. It's very hard to make it a very support styled weapon. It's not necessarily striker either. I would say that it's probably one of the most situational weapons where either striker or support can build it and try to really just use it to the best of their ability. I haven't seen very many good players use it yet, so I can't really say a whole lot about it, but, you know, maybe we'll be able to figure something out in the future. If you have any ideas about this, you know, go down in the comment section, let me know, and I'll be sure to, you know, talk to you and chat with you. Anyway, if you're going to be using the RC and you're striker or support, I recommend that you actually use staying power. It's really good. You can just keep it. It's not bad at all. Engine amp is okay. Long shot is pretty rough. Sensor array, pretty rough. All or nothing. All or nothing is an interesting one. So far, it hasn't really had too many big impacts on games, but it is very big risk by the name, obviously. All or nothing. But, you know, if you are going to be able to figure that out, go for it. And if you feel really confident with the RC, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Now on to the Shock Sphere. This weapon is not very supportive. It's generally a bit more striker-sided, just because you are putting your own body on the line, you know, to get hit. So if you can figure out a way to use it very supportive, let me know. But if you are going to be running it on a support-styled, you know, player or whatever, boosting jolt is okay, aberration sensor is okay, rapid charging is okay. They're all just kind of okay. For support, I don't totally know if I would recommend this weapon almost ever, but I know that some people are going to fight me in the comments. You know who you are. Now, on to the Radiant Cross, which is one of the most supportive weapons and striker weapons in the entire game, but I would say that support still actually gets even more use out of it in the long term. The cross is just, it's great at everything. It can kite, it can clear the stigma, it can stun, it can do whatever you need it to do as long as you have good control over it and you know how to use its cone shape to your advantage. Now, about the mods. Angelic Fury, don't run it, it's not very good. Divine Light, it's okay. Hollowed Ground, pretty rough. Crucifier can actually be very good if you are running with a 4-man and you're very coordinated, but I only ever recommend one person having Crucifier, ever. And then Saving Grace, which is extremely good for support, because let's say that you're down to your last 15% and, you know, you're willing to take a hit. You can take the hit and you don't lose any health, but you didn't waste the cross because you already only had about 15. And so as long as you're firing and the monster hits you, easy. You don't lose health. You lose a health state, but you don't lose health. And so I do heavily recommend this. If you are not going to be running any mod, it's just really, really, really powerful. Now, the Slingshot. I would actually say that supports get more use out of this than strikers do, in all honesty, just because of how it works and what it does. So with the Slingshot, Stunning Praise, Go for Glory, it's not bad. Devoted One, that's Commitment, Blind Faith, this just kind of funny, and then a Higher Power, which makes it pretty much an only striker weapon, but it's a fun one, so, you know, do what you will with it. But with the Slingshot, you are, if you were playing support, you are going to definitely be trying to really just hold the monster away from your teammates. So, you know, you're going to shoot it at a doorway that your teammates are going to be running through. Because what's the monster going to do? Run into it? If he does, then he's going to sacrifice a doll, break armor, or if it's werewolf, just die or run away. There's not very much option for the monster if you do end up shooting this at a doorway or something. Now onto the Sacred Staff. This weapon is somewhat supportive and kind of weird. So it relies on your teammates working with you and coordinating with you, and that can be really rough sometimes. So, you know, you craft this at your own despair potentially, and just know that this is not going to be a very easy weapon to get charged normally. So none of these are really all that great. Revelations is the one that might make it pretty decent, but you also still have to be very coordinated and calculated. If you are solo queuing, I don't recommend making the Sacred Staff very often, unless you're in like a 2v1 scenario. That is one of the major times where a Sacred Staff is actually a pretty decent option. But other than that, don't craft it at the start of the game, don't craft it in the middle of the game, just craft it way, way, way later, towards the end. Even if you craft it as a stun weapon, that is a-okay. Just try to make sure to not immediately go down with it after you craft it or something, because that is always just very unfortunate. Now, the Cursed Sword. This is one of the stupidest, strongest weapons for striker and support. It doesn't matter which side you play. This weapon is unbearably good. Monsters fear it so often. It's so nice. Like, even without mods. Okay, this weapon has 10 swings. Each swing can buy you around about an extra 8 seconds. And 8 seconds on top of another 8 seconds on top of another 8 seconds is a whole lot of time that your teammates can just do whatever they want. They can, you know, they can be crafting. They can be healing. They can grab soda or whatever the heck they want. It's really, really not hard to use either. Like, as soon as you start to learn it, you're like, oh, this isn't too bad. And then you just kind of start to murder the monster's soul, and it hurts them a lot, and it's kind of fun. Now, if you are going to be running support, Swordsmith is actually not a bad option, because as a support, like I said before, you're trying to buy your teammates a lot of time freely and let them do whatever they got to do. So the longer that you can kite, the better. And getting those extra 4 swings isn't bad at all. Now, as support, you generally want to be able to craft weapons pretty fast, but there are some exceptions. So if you want to try to, you know, run Swordsmith, get those extra 4 swings, go for it. Now, Mighty Swings, no one's really found a very good use for this. I don't really see it being very effective in the near future, but who knows? Somebody could totally prove me wrong. Now, Gale Force. Gale Force is the most supportive mod for the sword. Like, 100%. It is stupidly good. It is not hard to use. And it just speeds up your teammates. So, whenever your teammates run through the wake of the sword, they gain a speed boost for a little bit. So you basically you have a long range soda that you can force them to drink. It's great. And, you know, you have 10 of those swings. So that means that you have 10 speed boosts, all for your teammates, if you play it right. And you can still kill the monster with it, which is absolutely amazing. So I do heavily recommend this if you are going to be playing support. Now, Curse Blade. it's kind of in the same boat as Crucifier. I do heavily recommend that you have a team that's very calculated and they know what you're running, so they know what to look out for and what to work with. But it's not normally a great option, just because if you are one of the last two people alive and one of you has 40% on a cursed weapon and the other one only has some on a cross, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't really do a whole lot with that. So use it at your own discretion. Not a terrible idea, but sometimes will really make your games just terrible. Demonic Mark. This is not really all that supportive. It can be in some eyes, but I don't normally recommend it because the drawback is really bad, where the monster can see you for 6 seconds every time that you swing, and you see the monster for 2. It's a little rough. So I really don't recommend running Demonic Mark, but hey, if you want to go for it and try it, full send it. Totally respect it. Now, the Infernal Eye. This is a pretty supportive way. I think that it can go both ways, but I would say that it leans slightly more towards the supportive playstyle, because you can do quite a bit with it. You can force the monster out of a window very easily. You can be in 2 places at once, which is absolutely, like, beautiful. There's just a lot of stuff that you can really do with it, so it's very versatile. It's kind of in the same boat as the RC, just because they're very similar weapons, but I think that the Infernal Eye can do just a little bit more when it comes to the supportive style. Now, for the mods, none of them are overly, like, game-changing. They're mostly just, like, slight upgrades or downgrades, whatever you want to go with. So, words of warning, I don't really recommend it. It doesn't do too much. Stare down is actually very good. All seeing is okay. Don't blink, pretty good. And second sight, which is a very odd one, and I have yet to even touch it, but if you find a good use for it, go for it, like 100%. Now, on to the Enigma. One of the weapons that isn't really very supportive. Normally the support gets the striker a full Enigma charge, so normally one of your strikers will have the Enigma, and you'll be running something along the lines of a Flamethrower, Solar Flare, Cross, Cursed Sword, whatever you want to go with here, right? So, your striker is going to normally be the one to have the Enigma, and that's a good thing. You want to get that striker, the Enigma, from 0 to fully charged as fast as you can. That is, like, #1 goal. Now, for you, if you are going to be running as a support and be running an Enigma, I don't recommend Dead Silent. I don't really recommend Death Wish. Renewed Hope actually isn't bad. You could totally craft it and, just keep on charging it over and over again. Blood Offering, maybe. There are a lot of options with Blood Offering, which is pretty cool, but it's also still pretty risky, so use it at your own discretion. And then Demonic Pact, which is pretty striker-sided. It can be a little more supporty just because you can be really good bait, but you might be able to figure it out. I'm a striker and I personally use Demonic Pact, and I don't really see any other supports using Demonic Pact, so try to figure that out as you can. But yeah, so that is what I would recommend for support for everything here. It's not too bad. You do have a lot of good variety as playing support in your weapons. And yeah, anyway, moving on. So now, some people might be asking the question, is support a necessary role or playstyle? And I have to answer absolutely 100% yes. You definitely need a support player if you want to succeed and do well in VHS. It is an absolute requirement. So, trying to really outshine somebody, just because you want to get the stigmas and stuff, don't think of that mindset. You're gonna lose games because of it. You're gonna get stigma hungry, you're gonna play worse, and you're not gonna have nearly as much fun. Whereas if you end up, building a sword and kiting the monster for a good 2 minutes while your teammates craft and heal and grab 17 sodas, that's way more gratifying and satisfying, and it's great to do. It feels really nice to be able to do that, So yes, support is definitely a necessary playstyle, and we need more support players. Everybody right now is kind of just very stigma hungry, and they just want to all be a striker, or try to be a striker at least. Don't do that. If, like, to test the waters, okay? Try them both out. Try support, try striker. Try them both for about a week, I would say, at least. Like, it does take a bit to find your playstyle. Once you do find it, you can just start just smooth sailing and getting better and better and better at that one playstyle. And, you know, learning your mods and everything will really, really come in handy and be way more effective than you might think. And it's just really, really, really helpful to have a support player. I would know I'm a striker and I have support players, and I know that the people that I play with have a blast playing support. Some major people, you know, who I do play with, and I totally give props to, that you should definitely be on the lookout for, and if you see them in your game, know that they're going to be really, really good at supporting you. One, Transmuted. Very, very good person. I play with them all the time. She's a blast, owner of the VHS comp Discord, which you should totally get in, by the way. I'm in there, so if you ever want to, like, chat with me or something, totally can. Another one is Flapjack Octopus. Those are two very, very, very good supportive players who know their weapons and they know how to use them. And another one is Soda Pop Rocks Jones, or I believe in-game he just goes by Soda Pop. He's actually my editor. Thank you, Mr. Editor, man. We love you. Everybody, say we love you to Soda, okay? We all love Soda, and you probably already know him anyway, but whatever. We still say that we love him. Thank you. Anyway, those are some names that if you see them in a game, watch what they do. I know that they're really, really good support players. I know they're good players all around. Like, they can carry a game on their own very, very easily. And they just absolutely dominate and make everybody else on the team dominate. And that is what the support does. Like, if you played other games, you know what a support does. You know what a support is supposed to do. And that's kind of what you're doing, just in a little bit of a different way. Sometimes it's slowing down, sometimes it's going very offensive, and sometimes it's just forcing the monster into a different room so that your striker can come out of the corner and say, "Hey buddy, how you doing? You're not doing anything anymore, you're dead," right? That is your goal. You're really trying to ruin how the monster plays and just throw off his pathing, throw off his timing, throw off everything that he can possibly do so that your striker can go in and have a much easier time pushing in. You're just trying to make life a lot easier for the strikers. That is your main goal. So, you know, support players, really, really, really helpful, and I would say an absolute 100% necessity in VHS. Now, just some general tips, tricks, and just stuff to look for and actually, you know, start to incorporate in your own gameplay if you are playing support or you're playing striker. If you are playing support, look for the striker who has a cross or a flamethrower or a Molotov or any of those, and try to make their life a bit easier. If you have a solar flare, go put your solar flare on a station where your striker is crafting. That's a very, very major thing that is always, always extremely helpful. And then you can just run away. You don't have to be anywhere nearby the solar flare to actually activate it. So you can just leave, and your teammate, your striker player, can just run into the solar flare. If a werewolf howls, that doesn't affect the solar flare. If a war armors and tries to go through, your teammate can just, sorry, I should say, since you are going to be the one playing support, hopefully. You can just activate it slowly, 99% the ward armor, let it drop down a bit, and then do it again, and your teammate's gone. Your teammate is just fully left. Like, the ward cannot catch up to them at all anymore. And you're gonna still have like 60% at that point. You should still have plenty to be very supportive, or maybe even clear a stigma. Now, let's say that you're a support player and you just built a sword, okay? A lot of people get very greedy with the sword. Avoid doing that. Like, don't do that at all. It'll really, really, really hurt your game and hinder your playstyle. What you want to do is, instead of just getting the stigma right away, let's say one of your other teammates has another weapon and it's something like a sacred staff. Okay, let's say that they built a staff. you're not trying to let the monster hit anybody at that point, right? Because your teammate needs to heal people. So instead, take the monster really far away and kite him around one loop for like 5 minutes. And what's he gonna do other than keep chasing you and try to waste out your sword? And then when you get down to about 4 swings, then go for the stigma. At that point, you've already wasted a good, at minimum, about 1.5 minutes of the monster's time. At minimum, even with rough swings. And that's a lot of time. That is so much time to run around, heal, craft. There's just so much stuff that like minute or so can really benefit your team with. So, you know, trying to get used to that is going to be very hard for a lot of players, but once you do kind of get used to not getting stigma hungry, it's really good. Let's say, you know, you have a cross. Okay, cross is very much both ways. It can be very supportive, it can be very strikery, and you just have to play. If you're playing support, you're going to play the cross way more passively. If you're playing striker, you're going to be hunting him down so hard and scaring him. And as the support, normally with the cross, you're actually just going to be slowing down into a stun. That's generally what the support players should and are doing whenever they build a cross. They don't normally build a cross to get rid of the Holy Stigma, sometimes, but for the most part, it's just them getting stuns with the cross. And especially against like Dollmaster. If you are a support player and you're going against Dollmaster, get rid of the Holy Stigma as fast as you can, or what, it doesn't even matter. Just keep killing dolls, just keep crafting crosses and killing dolls over and over again, and just make the Dollmaster a little sad. It's okay, they win a lot anyway, it's Dollmaster. So, you know, a lot of the weapons are very variable because it just depends on how you play them and what you switch in your brain to play them, whether you play them very strikery or supportive. And one thing that I should mention is, even though yes, you can totally switch playstyles in the middle of a game, I don't recommend it at all, because it really can hurt your game. Sometimes you can do like a small little bit of a switch for a little bit, but for the most part, you really just want to stick to your one role that you're playing, because if you just say, oh hey, I'm gonna go make a cross and just bull rush the monster and I'm playing support, well then your team is down another support player and you don't need another striker, because you already have 2 normally. That's normally what you want to go for. So, you know, just learn how to stick to your role. That also goes for the striker players. Don't try to start playing support randomly. You haven't learned support probably if you're a striker, and if you're a support player, then you probably haven't learned striker. So sticking to that role that you decide to play is very good. And trying to find a good team that you can really benefit from and help benefit will be very helpful, very key. And, you know, they'll actually give you props. They'll congratulate you for doing everything that you did for them, which you should already do. Like, I make sure that any of the support players that I play with know that they're like insanely good at what they do. Like I said, Flapjack Octopus, Transmuted, Soda Pop, they're all very good support players, and I make sure to let them know that they are very good at what they do, and that they help me be such a better striker. Like, a striker cannot normally do overly well without a support. A support player can carry a game more often than a striker player. So, you know, make sure that you don't shun them or say that they're doing nothing, because normally they're actually doing a lot and you just don't see it. And that's the entire point, is if you don't see it, the monster is also not going to see that he's getting absolutely dunked on for like a good 2 minutes, other than that he's in a chase. But it's not like he's going to know what you're doing. You could be crafting, you could be healing, you could be grabbing a soda, you could be setting up a noisemaker. There's so many options, and the support players are the ones who let that happen. So please, if you are thinking about playing support, I know that you can hit up any one of those 3 players and they'll talk to you for sure. There's obviously also other support players, but I just hope that this video can really kind of help you understand, hey, this is support, this is something that I want to do, this is something that I want to help people with, and this is how I'm going to play it. So just learning that would be really good, and learning some of the different slight variations of support, which I would go over, but I don't really know enough about it to really go over it. And I think I think that we're still developing so many more playstyles for Striker and for support every day that we play. Like, this game is evolving so much, and I'm really, really glad to see it, because this is a fantastic game. I've been having a blast with it. I wish that I could play it, but the servers are dead right now, so that's unfortunate. But it's okay, because as soon as we can get back into it, we're gonna get cracked. We're gonna be streaming it once again Monday through Thursday. I stream on Twitch, so you know I'll be over there pretty regularly. I really only play VHS as long as the game is up, so you know, don't mind me being absolutely obsessed. And yeah, anyway, y'all are absolutely beautiful. Thank you guys for listening to me. Once again, if you did enjoy the video, or maybe it helped you at any point, there is a like button. If you would like to press it, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you like the rest of my content, hit the subscribe button. Anyway, thank you guys so very much for watching. You are absolutely gorgeous. Have a wonderful day.